What sort of similarities do you see between, Jim Traficant and Donald Trump?
Oh, there's a lot, and it's a great question because it's something that like I've talked about or written about before, and others have, and it's like there's definitely that strand of like defiant populism for both of them. Trafficant. I mean, well, Donald Trump's a billionaire, multimillionaire. He's a celebrity, been on TV, so like Trafficant couldn't compare in that regard. But like, just when you remember the things Trafficant said and stood for when he was a congressman or even when he was a sheriff, it was very much, you know, uh, you aren't getting what you want, you aren't getting what you deserve because of this or because of that. Really, grievance politics, tapping into um, the disgust and disenchantment that like the working class people have. And in the Mahoning Valley back in like the mid to late 1980s, that was a really potent argument because the steel mills were closing. Some of them had closed completely. They weren't coming back. People were underemployed, unemployed, not making as much money as they thought they should be. And we were at a time when like the global trade trends were the United States forging these deals with other countries like Mexico, where a company could have cheaper labor somewhere other than the United States. So that was costing jobs here in the United States. So it became a very potent political argument for a guy like Jim Traficant to make. He also, when he was sheriff, while all these like socioeconomic issues were going on that I just mentioned, he would refuse to foreclose on people's homes who are losing their homes because they couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments. And you could argue that that was a publicity stunt, but it was a pretty great publicity stunt. It
Mhm.
showed him as being like this populist who was in touch with what before Bill Clinton came along a few years later, that he could really feel your pain and was willing to do something to help you. Trump, and again, we can argue whether it's as authentic as Traficant's was. We can argue if Traficant's was even authentic, but Trump came along and railed against a lot of those same trade deals that Jim Traficant didn't like. And I think the difference in time, the passage of time, there were a lot more places like Youngstown in the Mahoning Valley where there were voters who had seen these shifts and had, felt left behind because of them and were open to somebody new coming in, presenting themselves as an outsider who wasn't gonna, conform to what the system expected a typical politician to conform to. And that's the message that Trump won with. I mean, he also succeeded because he had, this celebrity factor. But he beat up like 16 other Republicans who are all pretty well established in their political careers and who, didn't people are always like, well, Trump says mean things and he, has these tweets and like, yeah, he does a lot of things that like maybe you or I wouldn't say or do, or like, but people don't care about that. They like the message they were hearing otherwise.